How to manage 100 tenants like it's 10 without extra staff. That's what we're covering today. Now, this applies to people who have to manage multiple tenants and multiple properties within their portfolio. Now, why would you have to have a system that reduces the amount of effort you need to apply to your business by a tenth? Well, I think it's a no-brainer. You need to save yourself time, you need to save yourself cost, you need to release some of that headspace for you to work on the business rather than working in the business. Because as you scale, especially if you have HMOs, if you have a HMO and each HMO has 6 rooms within it and you have 5 HMOs, so that's 5 times 6, 30 different tenants you have to deal with. And if just one tenant sends a message every single day, so one tenant per day, that's 30 tenants. Now, if in some of those rooms you've got couples, so potentially you've got 6 times 5 times 2, right? 60 people that you're dealing with over the month. Just by the law of averages, that you will get multiple requests, and there's no way you'd remember every single thing that has been sent to you. So part of what this solution gives you is not just a way to handle the tenants or handle the inquiries. The other thing that it gives you is the ability to keep track of what's been created or what's been done in the past. Now, the problem we're trying to fix with this tool is the issue of the communication gap between the landlord or the property manager or estate agent and the tenants. So a lot of tenants receive their tenancy agreements. They read through, they sign it. At the back, it says what to do in an emergency. And then at the bottom is a phone number for them to call. Now, more times than not, that phone number doesn't actually have anyone responding to it. You just find that when they are in desperate need of an engineer or a repair person, there's nobody there to help them out. So what happens is it just falls by the wayside and they sit there waiting all weekend for somebody to come back to them. The stream has stopped for some reason. Let's see if it's still, yeah, it's there. Okay, so what's this here? Just gonna rejoin to see if that makes a difference. Yeah, okay, so that's made a difference here. Okay, so that is the communication gap, and then you have the admin side of things, and you see that nobody likes chasing for maintenance requests. You just want the request built and deployed, and then people just work with it. So that's one of the things we're trying to, or those 3 of the things that we're trying to fix. Now, what's not working right now is people have their websites created, they've got the properties, and then they put all the properties on their website, and they think that that is more than sufficient for all their tenants. But what they forget is that actually your website doesn't mean anything to anybody. It's a vanity thing in most cases. Why? Well, your tenant doesn't care about your website. They're not going to remember your website when they're struggling, because essentially what you're saying is, go to my website, bookmark it, and then remember that website, or remember you've bookmarked it 3 months down the line when there's an issue. But actually what you want is for you to just say to them, look, find your property on the WhatsApp. There's a business app on the WhatsApp within which you'll be receiving messages. And if you're really clever, you'd be sending them regular messages through WhatsApp. Even if it's once a month, just to say, hope everything's going okay, your rent is due in 2 days time or 3 days time, and you just keep the channel current and in their minds. So when they know that if there's any issue, they can come back to you. It's just peace of mind. And having so many calls or many tenants, or a clunky chatbot app, a chatbot app that you never upgrade, a chatbot app that ends up vulnerable, or a chatbot app that just sits on your website and nobody really uses, it's pointless. Now you can take that functionality and put that on WhatsApp. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. So what we built is an assistant, a tenant assistant that lives on WhatsApp, and on there we are providing essentially the functionality of a chatbot, but using WhatsApp as the interface. Why is that a good thing? It's a good thing because your tenant doesn't need to download any new apps. They don't need to remember what your app is, and they don't care about your app. What they care about is that somebody can deal with the issue when it is happening, when they're in an emergency. If they have any questions, they need something fixing, they can get to somebody. It's not a case of when they have that issue, then they have to jump through many hoops to get to you. Now, some landlords operate on that basis. I think it's counterproductive, because what you want is somebody to tell you within minutes that there's a leak. Even though it's a slow leak, they can take a video and upload it to you. You see the video, and then you know to send someone out, because that leak eventually becomes rotten cabinet, and then becomes woodworm, or can just go to something even much worse. So they want responses fast, they want those responses natural, and you want to be able to track that those requests have been sent. Now, what the tenant sees is, oh, I just typed, hi, the boiler is leaking, and then suddenly they receive a reply, or can you send a picture? And then they reply, and then they say, okay, got it, something's been booked. All of that happening within seconds. They don't need to speak to anybody. They don't need to think about incurring a cost or speaking to someone, and it's just done seamlessly, regardless of time or day. That is the key thing, that you're there for them regardless of the time of day. And what you see is things that are logged within your work item tracking system. So what responses were sent, what's the information that's within the database, what is the history for each particular room within your HMO portfolio, or each flat within your portfolio. So you stay in control, and then you can track things that are changing or things that are breaking as they are breaking. And then why it works is that the tenant feels that peace of mind. They know they've got access to you 24/7. And the surprising thing is, just by providing them with the knowledge that there is a tool they can use to get hold of you regardless of time, they are more at peace. They don't chase you, they don't bother, because they know that when they report something, it will be dealt with immediately. And it's fast, it's clear, and they understand where they stand. They know it's there. And then what you get is just reduced stress, and you know that things will get dealt with a lot quicker. Smart automation is better for your property and for the longevity of your property, and it's also better for your tenants who may want to stay because they know that they are being looked after. It's like top service. Now, this is what it looks like behind the scenes. So this screen is showing me the design. So what does it entail? So on the left hand side, imagine you are the tenant. You just send a message. What is a Wi-Fi pin? And then that message goes into WhatsApp, Meta, and then Meta says, oh, this is a number, this is a message going to this business number. That gets forwarded to Twilio. Twilio is what we use in this case to buy the phone number that's attached to WhatsApp. So it goes to Twilio, and Twilio says, oh, I know this number, I should send it on to this other website. So it goes to that website, all behind the scenes, and then that website receives it and says, all right, I recognize this number, I recognize that someone has just approached me with a message, and then it sends it to the chatbot that's behind the scenes, and then that chatbot analyzes the message. It takes some of the history just so that there's a bit of memory for that particular phone number, and then it goes through something called n8n, and then from n8n it then goes into OpenAI, and then the OpenAI, the LLM, categorizes the message. And in this case, there are three categories. There are urgent messages, there are messages that need to be escalated to the landlord, there are messages that need to be sent to the repair engineer, and then there's a third category of messages, which is a message that will be responded to based on the knowledge base that is behind the scenes. So knowledge base is essentially just a combination of all of the information that we have said that the AI can use to answer questions. So whatever files, so those files could be things like the house rules. Those could be things like issues that typically happen. It could be things like frequently asked questions. So those things will sit behind the scenes. So it can deal with maintenance requests. So you can log new maintenance requests. You can get it to answer billing inquiries, the moving out date, the moving in date, any emergency alerts, any viewings, rent reminders, frequently asked questions. So these are typical of what the back-end solution will be looking at. And then the real world outcome is you'd have higher tenant retention. That is our expectation. And then you have your employees and your staff just focusing on what would actually help the business, rather than just going back and forth and dealing with messages that in some cases they may not even have the information on, or in other cases that information is within the house rules, but because they're new, they haven't seen that information, and is something that they cannot respond to. So it takes their time, and they spend so much time running around looking for answers, whereas the answers to the question lives in the back-end knowledge base. So what are typical objections to this kind of tool? Some people are nervous that it replaces humans. It doesn't actually replace humans. It releases humans to do more with the time that they have. Because I'm yet to meet a property manager that says they have a lot of time on their hands. Very rarely. If not, they are usually extremely overworked, and anything that helps them with their job would appreciate. So this is something that will help your property managers or your tenants, estate agents. So is it secure? Very secure. It's GDPR compliant. Now Meta is marketing the fact that even they themselves don't see your messages, because the messages are encrypted from beginning to end, for end to end. So it's very compliant, and there is an audit trail for everything that happens, because we save a lot of it. In our history database. And what if it goes wrong? Yes, that can happen. It's not 100% perfect, but we've built in things to make sure that it catches when a message does go wrong or the system fails. Essentially gets routed to a human being, and that's what we have in place. So is this for you? Yes, it's for you if you're managing 10 plus properties. I would modify that and say if you're managing 10 plus tenants, then you want to have something like this in place. If you care about your tenants' experience and you want to scale your portfolio, and yes, this reminds me, you can have a different set of responses per property. So it's not the same thing for all properties. You can have a different set for each property, and the searching will be different. And if you want to spend less time on admin and more time scaling your business, more time with your family, you want to consider something that's similar to this. So how do you start? You don't need any tech skills. We'll fully set it up for you, and we'll make sure that you have access to all you need. And these are custom workflows, and we can provide something that you can sell on to your clients as well. So that's something to bear in mind, certainly. And then today's offer for people who watch this VIP system, this VIP webinar or masterclass, you will get a free onboarding session and one custom workflow, and then priority access to any new features that we add to this tool. And it's just valid for those who are on this webinar. But it's really late, so nobody's on this webinar but myself. But if you watch this afterwards, then be sure to reach out to me if you want a bit more information. Just DM me. Questions? Well, there's no one on there, so there are no questions. So thank you very much. What's left is for me to show you how the app works. So let's just go to something I recorded earlier. So here we go.
Hi, good to see you.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, let's go. Just asking what is the pin, Wi-Fi pin, and you can see the Wi-Fi network is HMOs and the password is welcome123. So this is one particular route that the message has taken, and that route is using the knowledge base to respond. So this next message is there's a leak in the ceiling. It's a very polite message. Doesn't need to be polite, but it's nice when it's polite. And then it's gone, and then it's created a task in ClickUp. So that's what it's there, and that's how it works. So that's it for now. Thank you very much. If you do have any queries, do feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to respond to your